السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الحمد لله العلي الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى. أشهد أنه لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صاحب المقام المعلى. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: ألا إن في الجسد لمضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Honorable scholars, respected brothers, listeners, the history of humanity has seen many great leaders, many great individuals, many who have excelled in some way or the other. History is full of people who have achieved. But no matter what they have achieved and in which field they have achieved, they have not achieved it all. There is no one person who can claim that in my field I have totally completed and perfected my mission. That's why we often hear the phrase, if only he lived a little longer, perhaps he could have completed this, perhaps he could have done this. So that's on the one side, that as much as we have great leaders, great achievers, great innovators, they could not achieve it all. They could not complete with perfection the task at hand. Not only could they not achieve it all, but whatever they did achieve was not free of blemish and deficiency, as great as it was. If that person is indeed a great person, he himself will say that there are many errors in my contribution, in my efforts and in my exertions. I made many mistakes in life, I learned along the way. If I had another chance, I would do it slightly differently. And even his most ardent of fans and followers and supporters would acknowledge his contribution was great, his success was phenomenal, but it was not free of blemish, deficiency and shortcoming. However, there is one exception, and only one exception. There is only one man who can claim that he completed his mission. And not only completed his mission, but completed his mission to perfection. And that is none other than Sayyiduna wa Habibuna wa Murshiduna wa Muta'ana wa Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Nabi of Allah stood up in front of thousands of Sahaba and said, Hal ballaght? Have I fulfilled my mission? The unanimous, resounding answer was yes. So confident were the Sahaba, so confident was the Nabi of Allah, that he said, Allahumma shahad. Oh Allah, you bear testimony that my Sahaba have unanimously said, I have completed my mission to perfection. You know, I've been saying this often in my talks. It's a point of reflection during the month of Ramadan. What a bounty of Allah upon us that Allah has made us from the Ummah of Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allah does not work by chance. Allah does not work by coincidence. We did not get lucky to be born into this Ummah. Allah chose us. Allah selected us, you and I. Allah knew our names before we were even born. And Allah chose us to be from that Ummah that Musa alayhi salam wanted to be from the Ummah, but he was not decreed to be from the Ummah. Isa alayhi salam was not born in this Ummah. He will come in the latter part of this Ummah. One of the reasons that the scholars write as to why Isa alayhi salam will descend before Qiyamah, there's many reasons they give. One reason they say, is because when Isa alayhi salam had to give the Banu Israel the glad tidings of the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he then became acquainted with the great virtue of this ummah. And he said, "Oh Allah, can I not be from this ummah?" And Allah said, "Isa, it was not decreed for you to be born in this ummah, but I will take you to the heavens and then you will descend and you will follow the same Quran and you will follow the same Sharia and you will follow the same Sunnah of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." While talking about Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, let me mention this in passing as well. Isa alayhi salam will descend during the time of Imam Mahdi on a white eastern minaret in Damascus at the time of Fajr. The Fajr Adhan would have been given. Imam Mahdi would be about to lead the people in Salah. They will see a Nabi descend, and the Nabi's position is far higher than any other human. They will say, "Oh Isa, lead us in Salah." He will say, "No. This is a virtue for the ummati of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I have come as an ummati, so I have to read Salah behind you." Although a Nabi is superior, but to show that he is not coming with a new book or with a new Sharia. He is to fall into line with what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left. He said, "I will perform the Salah, O Mahdi, behind you." So what an honor, what a privilege Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us and made us from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah Himself says, it's not an accolade that we have attributed to ourselves. Allah says it, "Kuntum khayra ummatin," you are the best of people. The Nabi of Allah said, "You are the last to come into this world, the first to enter into Jannah." Over 2/3 of the inhabitants of Jannah will be from the ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah make us from amongst them. You know, when it comes to the Nabi of Allah, in Arabic they have a beautiful saying, "Man ahabba shay'an akthara dhikrah." When you love something, you remember it excessively. Like the youngster will talk about Messi more than he talks about his father. And the other will talk about Ronaldo more than he talks about his mother. Because they're obsessed. Love, infatuation. We should have a greater infatuation and obsession and love with studying and reading and talking and learning about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you know what? With all of our weakness, the one thing we still have, every ummati has, is love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I always say this, that once during Hajj somebody had tweeted, and that tweet had stuck with me till today. He said, "It's 1400 years since the demise of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yet he remains the most visited man on the planet." It's 1400 years since he's left this world, but yet he remains the most visited man on the planet. Imagine a man who has passed on, you have to make a booking to appear before the Rawdah. Recently I was in Umrah. Now in Umrah, you know how it is, right? You get all sorts. People who do their own things. Some out of arrogance, some out of ignorance. Some just because they don't know better. They come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different mannerisms, different isms, different educational upbringing. And at times it's natural, you get a bit irritated of the way people conduct themselves, but then you've got to rein yourself in and say, listen. Every person who has come here, has come here out of love for Rasulullah. Some do it the right way, some do it not so the right way, some do it the wrong way, some know how to do salam, some don't know how to do salam. But when you look at everyone's face, young, old, black, white, educated, not educated, person who came for the first time, person who came for the umpteenth time, each one's face is radiating with the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is the hope of the ummah, that this ummah still has love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Nabi of Allah had love for us. I always quote this narration. He said, "When will I meet my brothers?" The Sahaba said, "Are we not your brothers, Ya Rasulullah?" He said, "Nah, antum ashabi, you are my companions. My brothers are those. They have earned the title of brothers because they will come long after me. They will come long after me, but they will love me so much, even though they have not seen me, that they will be willing to sacrifice everything for me." Person will have many sins, many shortcomings, many errors, many failures, many deficiencies in his life as a Muslim, but he has love for the Nabi of Allah. So, there was one scholar, one day somebody bought him a gift, a garment, a jubba, kurta, from Medina Munawwara. And as soon as he received the gift, he started holding it and embracing it and kissing it, and people found it a bit strange. So somebody made a remark. They said, Hazrat, this is bought in Medina, but it's not made in Medina. Like many of the dates that we buy from Medina are not grown in Medina. They're grown on the outskirts. But look at the response. He said, I know it's not made in Medina, but it has been touched by the winds of Medina. So those dates perhaps are not grown in Medina, but they've been touched by the environment of Medina. That's why we say these are dates from Medina. You can get dates from various other parts of the world. But when it's Medina dates, there's a different enthusiasm, there's a different enjoyment. Association with the beloved makes the thing beloved. Layla, Majnoon used to rub the walls, used to say, these are the walls that my Layla walked past. So anything that is associated in any way with Madinatul Munawwara is beloved to the ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, Allah had blessed us with such a Nabi who was marvelous and fantastic and phenomenal in every aspect. Let's take an example. Aisha radiallahu anha says, those women who cut their hearts because they were captivated by the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam, if they had to see the physical beauty of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they wouldn't have cut their hands, they would have cut their hearts. Imam Qurtubi rahimahullah said, Allah has not shown any human the full physical beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The human eye can't withstand it. That you will only see in Jannah. May Allah make us from amongst those honored ones. You see, shaitan is very sly, brothers. When we make dua, he wants us to fall short. So sometimes you'll hear brothers say, no, I just make dua for Jannat. If I get into Jannat, I'm okay, I'm lucky. I don't deserve anything higher than that. Of course, none of us deserve it. But when you make dua, you don't look at your weakness, you look at the greatness of Allah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Salillah al-Firdaus. Whether you deserve it or not, whether you're worthy or not, ask Allah to grant you the highest stage in Jannah. So we must be making dua in this month of Ramadan. Oh Allah, make me the neighbor of my Nabi in Jannah for eternity. Imagine one day you see the full physical beauty of the Nabi of Allah. The next day Allah reveals His countenance to you. Wow! May Allah grant us Jannah. May Allah grant us the ability to work towards Jannah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-Jannah wa ma qarraba ilayha min qawlin wa amal. We make the dua, but Allah grant us the actions and grant us the deeds to be able to become eligible for Jannah. If you look at the attributes of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the physical attribute, take the saliva of the Nabi of Allah. Any other human, if you see his spittle, if you see saliva, it's like a repugnant thing. It's a repugnant thing. That's somebody else's saliva. The Nabi of Allah, his saliva was such that Ali radiallahu anh says, on the occasion of Khaybar, I had an infection in my eye. The Nabi of Allah took a drop of his saliva, put it into my eye. Not only did it cure my eye, for the rest of my life, my vision in that eye was stronger than the vision in the other eye. Anas radiallahu anh says, our family had a well in Medina. The water was very bitter. One drop of the saliva of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was immersed into that well. It became the sweetest water in Medina Munawwara. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The perspiration of the Nabi of Allah, the sweat. Here in UK it doesn't get very hot. Your summer is like our winter. Your winter is like, never mind. But in South Africa, on a hot summer's day, and our climate, mashallah, is moderate, not exceptionally hot, but I'm saying by comparison, to here where the sun doesn't shine much. When you greet a person on a hot day, he'll have sweaty palms. So his perspiration will come onto your hand. And sometimes, maybe you'll meet a person, you're going for a job interview, so he's an important person, or a senior person, a prominent person. But after greeting, you'll see the man very discreetly looking for his handkerchief. I don't want to wipe my hands off. I don't want his perspiration on my fingertips. But look at the perspiration of the Nabi of Allah. It gave off such a scent that when Sahaba would look for the Nabi of Allah, they would just follow the fragrance. Salama radiallahu anha, one day when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sleeping the afternoon siesta in the hot Arabian desert, he was perspiring. She was collecting the drops of perspiration. The Nabi of Allah woke up, he said, what are you doing? She said, Ya Rasulullah, we collect your perspiration, we add it to our scent and it becomes the best of fragrances. One day a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I need help. My daughter has just got married, but I got nothing to give her a gift. Subhanallah. What lives, what simple lives the Sahaba lived. Huh? Today you break your bank to send your daughter off. You'll put yourself in debt to send your daughter off. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I don't have anything to give my daughter as a gift. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him, I don't have any money to help you out, but come, give me a small bottle with a small stick. So this is mentioned by Imam Suyuti in Qasa'is al-Kubra. He says that the man brought the small bottle with the stick, and the Nabi of Allah took few drops of his perspiration and he gathered it in that bottle. And he said, now take this and give it as a gift to your daughter. And tell her whenever she applies perfume, she must just dip a drop of this into her perfume. The Sahaba mentioned, and Imam Suyuti has narrated this, that every time this lady would apply scent, not only would her entire home become fragrant, the entire locality would become fragrant. That was the physical attributes of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the marvelous nature of the Nabi of Allah. Physically, the touch, wow, the touch. Imagine those who had the honor of touching the blessed hands of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May Allah make us from amongst those fortunate ones who will drink from His blessed hands at the pond of Kawthar. It's the month of Ramadan, it's the time of Jumu'ah, it's the house of Allah. These du'as should come from the depths of our hearts. So, just to give you one example, on the occasion of Hijrah, it's a famous narration. The Nabi of Allah is traveling with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. It's hot, they're thirsty, they're hungry, and it's a time of drought. And they're looking for food, and they come across a lady, Ma'bad. So they stop and they say, do you have anything for us to drink, for us to eat? She says, nothing. Actually, my husband is gone out to seek him. We can find something. It's drought. We're all suffering. They look around. They see in the yard there's a small, feeble, weak-looking goat. So the Nabi of Allah says, can I milk this goat? She said, there's no milk in this goat. That's why it's so feeble and weak and thin. Can I try? By all means. One touch, the narration is there, one touch of the fingertips of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The udders of the teeth of that animal became so full with milk, the Nabi of Allah drank until he was satiated. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh drank until he was satiated. Ma'bad marveled and amazed. She drank until she was satiated. There was so much left over when her husband came home at night. He said, where did this milk come from? She said, it's the result of the blessed touch of a blessed man. That was the power of the touch of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the examples, we can go on not for hours, not for days, not for weeks, not for months, but forever in talking about the physical characteristics of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But that's not the purpose and the focus of my discussion today. The point I want to bring home, brothers, after all this which I have shared with you, is this. If that was the external of the Nabi of Allah, imagine what was the internal of the Nabi of Allah. If that was the saliva, if that was the perspiration, if that was the touch, if that was the beauty on the outside, then imagine what was the nature of the heart and the soul of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That heart which was the recipient of revelation, that heart which spoke to Jibreel, that heart upon which Quran was revealed, that heart which spoke to Allah on the day of Qiyamah beyond the Sidratul Muntaha. At-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My message to you this afternoon is, as we strive as Muslims to emulate the Nabi of Allah externally, we should equally, if not to a greater measure, strive to emulate the Nabi of Allah internally. What were the values, what were the qualities of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? The way the Nabi of Allah ate, the way he drank, the way he sat, the way he spoke, the way he walked, the way he slept, those are all great sunnah. We take pride in following them meticulously. But we should not stop there as Muslims. What were the qualities of my Nabi? What was the nature of the heart of my Nabi? And why do I choose to address you on this afternoon? Because like I've been saying in all my talks and even yesterday, Ramadan is not only a time for physical action where you fast and you make Taraweeh Salah and you read Quran and you make dhikr and you sit for i'tikaf. All of that is phenomenal. It needs to be done and the reward will be there, inshallah. But Ramadan is also a time of introspection, reflection, spiritual assessment. That what's the nature of my heart? Because that is what Allah is going to judge me on the day of Qiyamah. An astute businessman does an annual spiritual audit. Where are the profits? Where are the losses? How can I optimize profits? How can I minimize losses? How can I better prepare for the year ahead? Ramadan needs to bring us to that point. You see, we're too busy judging others. That's why we don't find the time to judge ourselves. In English, they say beautifully, you are the best lawyer for yourself and the best judge for the next man. When you do something wrong, you come up with a defense that will make the top defense attorney look ashamed. I mean, from the time we're small, you know how kids come up with excuses. When you're in school, when you're in madrasa, the ustad knows. Sometimes the ustad, as angry as he is, he just has to chuckle at the genius nature of the excuse that had come out from the mouth of the student. So we are the best defense lawyers for ourselves, but the best judges of others. It's supposed to be the other way around. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Ala inna fil jasadi mudgha." There's a piece of flesh in your body. If that is right and in alignment, everything is in alignment. And if that is out, then everything is out. Ala wahiya al-qalb, it's your spiritual heart. How often do you focus on that heart? That how clean is my heart? How pure is my heart? How connected to Allah is my heart? This is the time. If not now, then when? One day a sahabi came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and again I reiterate the point I made this morning. We are internally indebted to Sahaba for the caliber of the questions that they asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he says, Ya Rasulullah, tell me who is the best of people. Why? Because I want to be the best of people. So that was his priority. Ya Rasulullah, tell me who is the best of people. So the Nabi of Allah tells him something amazing. ذُو الْقَلْبِ الْمَخْمُومِ وَاللِّسَانِ الصَّدُوقِ. A man with a pure heart and a truthful tongue. He's the best of people. So the Sahaba, the one man asks the question, but everyone benefits from the answer. So Sahaba are amazed and they intrigued and they now curious. They say, Ya Rasulullah, a man with a truthful tongue, that's easy to understand. But this thing about a pure heart, can you unpack it for us? Can you elaborate? Can you explain? So the Nabi of Allah mentioned a few qualities of a pure heart, which I'm going to share with you quickly before we conclude. He said, huwa taqi, a heart that has piety. An-naqi, purity. La ithma fihi wa la baghya. No sin, no transgression, no evil. Wa la hasad, and no jealousy. That is mahmumul qalb. That is the man with a pure heart. So let's take each one very quickly and judge yourself. As I'm talking, judge yourself. At-taqi. How conscious are our hearts of Allah? This whole fasting is why? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Taqwa is not in how you bend when you make salah, that everyone can see. That's an external manifestation of what could possibly be internal. Taqwa is the taqwa of your heart. How conscious is my heart of Allah? And you want to do a test very quickly, then check. Does my heart worry more about what others think or about what Allah thinks? If your heart is occupied with pleasing Allah and with what Allah thinks, then you've got consciousness and taqwa in your heart. Brothers, how much of our lives have we wasted worrying about what people think of us? Whereas in English they say so beautifully, what others think of you is none of your business. What others say about you is none of your business. We've wasted so much of time trying to please those who don't care for us. Who don't care for us. It's time now that we start focusing our hearts on Allah. The Quran says, إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. The heart that has taqwa. As soon as the name of Allah is taken, as soon as there's any form of the remembrance of Allah, whether it is salah, whether it is fast, whether it is dhikr, that heart comes alive. Because it has consciousness of Allah in it. I want to explain to you something. And if you don't remember anything I tell you today, remember this. Who are we? We are the ibadullah, ibadur rahman. We are the servants of Allah. Abd. Now in English, we translate the word abd perhaps as servant to slave. But both these words have negative connotations, right? So servant, you think of somebody who's cleaning. Slave, you think of somebody who's shackled. But the word abd in Arabic has a very beautiful meaning. And if you can understand its meaning, you will understand the purpose of your existence and the goal in your life. They say an abd is that person who totally enslaves himself to Allah, and by enslaving himself to Allah, he totally liberates himself from everything and everyone else. So the only time you are truly liberated, it's not when you have a vote or you have an ID document or you have your own home or you have your own income to say I'm independent. Nah, The only time you are truly liberated is when you totally enslave yourself to Allah. Otherwise, if you don't enslave yourself to Allah, you will be a slave to something or someone or everything or everyone. You'll be a slave to your wife, to your children, to your job, to your friends, to your passions, to your hobbies, to your desires. But the day you become a true slave of Allah, that's when your heart is totally liberated. You'll see the world is full of people who have everything material, yet they have no happiness, satisfaction, contentment, and serenity. And then you'll find a pauper and he's getting the best night's sleep because his heart is connected with Allah Ta'ala. So that's the first quality, at-taqi. The second quality, an-naqi, purity. There must be purity in your intention. This is another point that we need to reflect on in the month of Ramadan. Because it's not what you do or how much you do, it's the intention with which you do it. So in your ibadat, solely, wholly, totally, only, solely and exclusively for Allah. Lillah, lillah. Whatever I do, is this pleasing to Allah? Will this make my Allah happy? This is for my Allah. Check your intention before, check your intention during, check your intention after. In your mu'amalat, in your transactions, in your interactions with others. Even when you've got to rebuke someone, even when you've got to remedy someone, do it for the pleasure of Allah, not to satiate your ego. So that's one aspect of having a pure heart. Another aspect of having a pure heart is to wish well for others. But this is a rare quality in the world today. Very few people wish well for others. Selfishness and individualism has plagued us. You know, if I have anything, I want it only for myself, for no one else. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma used to say, we know that he was the father of tafsir because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made dua for him. He said, if Allah opens up my mind to the meaning of any verse of the Quran, I immediately wish that everyone must have the same knowledge that I have. Selflessness. Why do you want to be selfish with the limitless treasures of Allah Ta'ala? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has told us, you will not reach haqiqatul iman until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. This is the acid test, as they would say. Check, do I wish for my biological brother what I wish for myself? Forget my brother in Islam. Today a father won't wish for his son what he wishes for himself. And a son won't wish for his father. That's how selfish and individualistic society has become. But a person with a pure heart, he knows that Allah is there for him. What do I lose if somebody enjoys what I enjoy? If somebody gains what I gain? Today, the tragedy is we are more depressed over the success of others than our own failures. We would rather fail, but he must not succeed. And if I succeed, then he can't succeed. I must be exclusive in my success. Have a clean heart. Wish for others what you wish for yourself. Another example of a pure heart is to have a soft heart. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةِ أَقْوَامٌ أَفْئِدَتُهُمْ مِثْلُ أَفْئِدَةِ الطَّيْرِ. Some people will enter Jannah because their hearts are like the hearts of birds. They are soft. They are easygoing. They are accommodating. إِنَّ اللَّهَ رَفِيقٌ يُحِبُّ الرِّفْقَ. Aisha, Allah is soft. Allah loves softness. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was very affable. He was very approachable. He was very easygoing with the Sahaba. He said, Jahannam is haram for that person. Ala kulli qareebin, hayyinin, sahlin, who keeps people close, who is soft with people, who is lenient with people. My time is running out. I'll quickly share with you an incident. There was a Sahabi by the name of Abdullah. And he would love to present edibles to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, delicacies. And one day a trader came, so he bought the delicacy from him, but he didn't pay him. And he went into the gathering and he said, Ya Rasulullah, here's a gift for you. And the Nabi of Allah accepts it. Later on, the trader came and says, pay up, bhai, where's my money? He says, no, it wasn't for me, it was for the Nabi of Allah. Now imagine your own son does this to you. He comes and he presents you with a gift, and after that he sends the person to take payment from you. So the trader comes and says, you have to pay. He said it was for you. How does the Nabi of Allah respond? You see, an easygoing, soft heart. The Nabi of Allah chuckles. He has the trader paid. Then he tells the Sahaba, because Abdullah is feeling embarrassed now, so he's hiding. He says, call Abdullah, tell him to join us. Tell him to join us in that which he presented as a gift which we had to pay for. And this Abdullah had a weakness, it's mentioned in the narrations. He had a bit of a problem with alcohol. And one day somebody made a remark that may Allah curse him. The Nabi of Allah immediately said, don't help the devil against your brother. He's got a weakness, but don't make it easier for shaitan against him. We are the greatest misrepresentation of our deen because we represent our deen to be only about strictness, harshness and firmness. There's a place for that, of course, everything in moderation and balance. But the default position of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was one of having a soft heart, a lenient heart, an accommodating heart. Then the third quality Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talks in terms of a pure heart. La ithma fihi wa la baghiya. No sin, no transgression. Meaning you don't harbor suspicion, doubts and ill will towards anyone. Keep your heart clean. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one day told Sahaba, listen, don't tell me stories about what others are doing in their private lives. Because when I come out and meet them, I want to meet them with a clean heart. It's not my business, even though I'm a Nabi, about any person's personal weakness. Yes, the general weaknesses in society, you speak about it in a general way. Today, we get offended if someone didn't tell us what someone else was up to. Say, you didn't tell me and you knew. We want every salacious detail. Then when you meet the man, are you going to meet him with a clean heart? Nah. What others do, of what concern is it to you when you've got so much to work on in terms of your own heart? So don't pry into the affairs of others. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا تَنَاجَشُوا. Right? But on the other hand, simultaneously, don't have unnecessary suspicion. You know, the default position in Islam is a person is innocent until proven guilty. He's right until proven wrong. We have to do it the other way. He's guilty until proven innocent. He's wrong until proven right. The Quran says, اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. Avoid unnecessary suspicion. When you carry that in your heart, you're going to live a miserable life. Live a clean, clear life. Don't worry too much about what people think of you, what they say about you, what they're doing. Actually, in the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, an intelligent person is he who is oblivious of the wrongdoings of others. Keep a clean heart with everybody. Know what is right from what is wrong. But keep a clean heart. Whatever that man is involved in is between him and Allah. And if I want to really make a difference to his life, I must make dua for him in private, not comment about him in public. I must guide him in private and not rebuke him in public if I genuinely have care and concern for him. Otherwise, live a straight, focused, clean-hearted life. You'll be happier in this world, you'll have less to account for in the hereafter. It's this dirt which has soiled our hearts. That's why you're standing in Salah, in Ramadan, on the night of Qadr, and you're thinking bad of someone else. You're sitting for i'tikaf in the masjid, and you're slandering and gossiping and backbiting somebody else. These are all the diseases of the heart which have resulted in sin, and we don't even realize we are engrossed in sin. That's why I speak about this today, the cleanliness of the heart. And the last point, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, wala hasad. You see, when you focus too much on what others are doing, then you see what bounties they are enjoying and you become jealous. And sometimes we think it's the pauper on the street who will be jealous of a man who have basic bounties. The more you have, the more you're prone to jealousy because the more you want to have. There's no end to greed. Some of the most jealous people are the ones who are the most blessed by Allah. Life has become such that we don't enjoy the bounties of Allah because we focus on what we don't have and not what Allah has given us. You will never reach a stage where you have everything that your heart desires. It's like catching your shadow. You'll forever chase. You'll be number one on the Forbes list, but you'll still kill yourself working because you want to remain number one. You've got a private jet, or somebody else got a better private jet, a bigger one. You got a private yacht, where the next man doesn't have a car. No, I need a bigger one. That's the nature of dunya, when you've got jealousy in you. So don't be jealous of others, but don't allow others to be jealous of you by flaunting your life. This is another sickness. Any bounty that Allah blesses me with, I must put it on my WhatsApp status. Allah's given me some wealth, I go on a holiday, I'm giving ball by ball commentary on my WhatsApp status, my wife is giving ball by ball commentary on her Instagram page. Then we say nazar. Al-aynu haqqun. Even if a person doesn't have a bad intent, but the evil eye has a reality, it hits home. Then you want to know why there's problems in the marriage and why there's problems at home. 90% of the time no one did anything. You brought unnecessary attention on yourself. So don't be jealous of others by ogling at what they have. But don't flaunt what you have so that others can ogle at you. Too much more to say, brothers. I'll conclude with this. In the verse which I presented in my introduction, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالُ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the day of Qiyamah, it will not be your title, your fame, your brand, your name, your lineage, your ancestry, your bank balance, your citizenry, your children. Nothing will count. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Allah will see if you came with a sound heart. That is what will make the difference between Jannah and Jahannam. And that's my call to myself and to you today. The month of Ramadan is very conducive. When you fast, it softens your heart. Fast cleans the rust of the heart. You're reading Quran, it occupies the heart positively. You're making dhikr, it's a varnish and a polish for the heart. Salah nourishes the heart. So the environment is conducive. Now after Ramadan, we need to constantly work on keeping our hearts clean. It's not a once-off effort. Like every day you've got to wash your clothes, you've got to iron your clothes. Sometimes the stain is stubborn, you've got to get a stronger varnish. You constantly have to evaluate your heart. You constantly have to clean and scrub and varnish and polish your heart in the hope that you will die with a clean heart and you can present it to Allah. I leave you with these words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Nabi of Allah says, "Inna Allah Ta'ala la yanduru ila ajsamikum wa la ila suwarikum." Allah doesn't look at your physique and whether you have a six-pack. Allah doesn't look at how handsome or how beautiful you are. وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah will look at your heart and how your heart then inform the actions that you present before Allah. May Allah grant us all a qalbi salim. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad.